Hello, all you film freaks and movie maniacs out there. My name is Nolan Carr, and I'd like to welcome you to the go-to podcast for all things cinema. But before you can ask any questions, just sit back, relax, as I present to you a Strawlane Studio Productions Critiquing with Carr.
Hi everyone, Nolan here, and I'm here with you for a very special episode of the podcast. In celebration for the first 50 episodes, because eventually the 50th will come out, I want to do a little thing I like to call my favorite films I've watched so far for Volume 1. And what that entails is I list off 10 films I've watched so far. There'll be 5 sets of the volumes, therefore equaling 50. And I say what was the 10th all the way up to my very favorite one of that set of films and why I liked it or didn't like it. So that being said, let's begin. Coming in at number 10 as my least favorite film I've watched so far for Volume 1 is Schindler's List. Unfortunately, this was my least favorite viewed film for the set of movies. Although Neeson, Kingsley, and Fiennes do a great job in their roles as the triumvirate of lead actors, they don't do enough to save this movie. The story moves at a slow pace, and I'm not a fan of it being in black and white. Don't even get me started about the dud of an ending that this film showcases to the audience. I'm glad I'm never going to watch this ever again. Coming in at number 9 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 1 is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Ugh, it's the max. Sure, Clint Eastwood is great in this movie. Sure, the character Lee Von Cleef plays is interesting. And sure, the setting and the wardrobe isn't that bad. But there wasn't quite a bit I didn't like from this supposed all-time classic of a film. The voice dubbing was terrible, the makeup, particularly when Clint's character was left to die in the desert, and the passing was no bueno. I also thought the length of the movie was way too long, and in a handful of parts, the movie dragged on a bit too much, or was moving too slow, which I guess is the same thing at the end of the day. But overall, I hated this movie. Coming in at number 8 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 1 was The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Although I enjoyed watching this film and watching the Fellowship begin to mesh into one cohesive unit once I watched the second and third film, this one is my least favorite of the trilogy. The CGI of Gollum in the movie, regardless of his lack of screen time, was not great, but Ian Holm as Bilbo, directly at the beginning of the film, saves this movie from being a complete dud regardless of the lackluster ending. Coming in at number 7 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 1 was The Dark Knight. Although the action and suspense in this movie are top tier, as well as Heath Ledger as the Joker, there are a handful of stale moments in the movie as well. I think the love triangle angle of Harvey and Rachel and Bruce and Rachel was cringe just to name one. This is a good movie, probably the best of the trilogy, just not the top film in this ranking. Coming in at number 6 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 1 was Pulp Fiction. This film was one that I was quite surprised with when viewing it in one complete sitting. Though the multiple different stories told all in one film could be seen as confusing to others, I was easily able to follow along and actually enjoy how they all interconnected. This was another film with an all-star cast that does a proper job at sharing the screen time equally. I definitely would watch this again. Coming in at number 5 on my list of films I've watched so far is The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. In terms of conclusions for film series, this is one of the greatest endings of all time in my opinion. Although the action in this movie, particularly the final battle, wasn't Diamond Tier-esque as The Two Towers, this was still an amazing movie. The drama, the suspense, and pacing were all well done. Andy Serkis and Sean Astin almost steal the movie as actors in this film. Coming in at number 4 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 1 was The Godfather Part 2. Excluding Star Wars Empire Strikes Back in this set of films, this movie is the greatest sequel ever made. This and its predecessor do a phenomenal job of presenting a great story on the shoulders on a basically completely unknown array of actors. Al Pacino does a great job in this film, but the stars of this movie, in my opinion, are the supporting cast that don't always get their praises. The more you watch this movie, the more it grows on you as a fan. Coming in number 3 on my list of films I've watched so far for Volume 1 was The Godfather Part 1. Even after 50 plus years, this movie is one of the gold standards in movie making. Not only is everything from the set design and wardrobe great, but the backstory of how this film almost didn't get made and what it took to get made make viewing this piece of cinema history even better. Coming in at number 2 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 1 was The Shawshank Redemption. This is one of the best films ever made. It's a movie that you can watch over and over again and still be hooked from start to finish each time. The acting is superb, the plot is interesting, and the pacing is perfectly done. The end of the movie is a classic set of scenes as well. And finally, last but not least, coming in at number 1 on my list of films I watched so far for Volume 1 was 12 Angry Men. The ensemble cast here is superb, story is very interesting, and the plot moves at a smooth yet quick pace that keeps you eager to keep your eyes on it the whole time. Henry Fonda does a phenomenal job as the lead in this movie. My other favorite actor in this film is Martin Balsam. With that being said, with me giving you my rankings of the first 10 films I watched on this podcast, I'd like to know your thoughts, what you thought about my ranking, what I had at 10, 9, 8, all the way down to 1, and vice versa. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. But maybe comments down below your order of the films I just mentioned and see if you have any aligning thoughts that may correlate with each other. But nevertheless, if you've enjoyed this week's edition of the show and this rendezvous of fun for Volume 1 of my films I've watched so far, do us a favor by subscribing on YouTube, following us on the audio platforms, clicking that thumbs up or like button so you can tell us you enjoy these episodes, turning on post notifications so you can stay up to date when episodes release, as well as clicking that share arrow so you can help continue to grow the podcast with all your friends and family. Also, if you want other ways of staying up to date with the show, do us a favor by following us on Instagram at Critiquing with Carr. And with that, my film freaks and cinephiles, until next time when we see each other again, take care and happy viewing.